You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Parr Lumber. Talkin Ducks is presented by Pacific Clear Vision Institute and Les Schwab Tire Centers. All right, welcome into another edition of Talkin Ducks. We are getting closer to the spring game, so we'll hear from some of the coaching staff as the Ducks get set for that. Also, baseball, a huge walk-off win for the Ducks. We'll hear from Coach Waz. And then women's basketball, another transfer, but they bring another Duck into the pond. And then we'll hear from Matt Prehm more on the huge recruiting get for Oregon football. And we start with that because it's our opening drive brought to you by Les Schwab Tire Centers. Les Schwab doing the right thing since 1952. And with that, we welcome in Aaron Fentress from the Oregonian and Anthony Newman. Joey Harrington is off saving the world this week, but he'll join us next week. But guys, let's start with this. Josh Conerly, 5-star offensive tackle from the state of Washington, number 2 offensive tackle prospect in the nation, Washington's top-rated recruit, signs and commits with the Ducks, a huge get for Oregon. He turned down USC, Washington, Miami, Oklahoma, and this makes Oregon the number 1 rated recruiting class in the Pac-12 and the 8th highest rated recruit the Ducks have ever gotten. So Aaron, what do you think about Oregon going up north and robbing a huge recruit from the state of Washington?
Man, I'm starting to feel sorry for the Huskies. You know what I mean? Like, because they've been
Don't you ever say that on this program.
They've been trying so hard to flip this rivalry on its ear, right? I mean, they dominated the Ducks in 2016. They thought that was going to catapult them maybe over Oregon. And then Oregon has had 2 or 3 head coaches since then, right? Because Helfers got fired that year. And still, they're not making any inroads in recruiting, not only nationally, but even in their own state. Like, they were talking a lot of trash a few years ago when they stole Molden, right? That was a big deal. But they haven't capitalized on those types of moves, whereas Oregon keeps the recruiting train going regardless of who the coach is, and then goes into your backyard and steals this guy. And it's not like UW isn't a program that doesn't have a storied history. They have a national championship, a co-one with Miami, which I still think they would have lost. But anyway, that's another story. But like, that's a marquee program that just can't find its footing. And to have this happen right in your face like that and have them go to Oregon, let's say a dude went to Miami. You can kind of live with that, maybe even SC. But Oregon, just 2.5 hours down I-5, that's a devastating blow. And one last thing. This moved Oregon's recruiting class to 16th on 24/7 nationally. And Washington's is in the 90s.
Something about Washington living in the 90s, it feels like. Now, there's a joke there. Anthony, you look at this, and Oregon has now taken 2 of the top 3 recruits in the state of Washington. And a big reason for this, for Conerly committing to the Ducks, was also the NIL collective that Oregon has. And they said that they're going to get a chance to have this young man earn some money while he's at Oregon. And this is the new reality of college football. So it feels like Oregon, this collective, and obviously landing in this crew, it is this perfect mix that allows them to now go take some of the top talent right in the backyard of some of their biggest rivals.
Money talks, right?
That's why you guys are doing this show, honestly.
I mean,
I'd have done it for free, Jordan.
Well, it's kind of crazy that, you know, we're talking about, well, it's a good thing, it's a bad thing, and it's another topic getting into about money with college kids. But that's what's happening today. And another thing I think is really important, you have to talk about the coaching staff. The coaching staff, they're able to go into the homes of these kids, talk to the parents, and then create a trust with those kids, saying all the right things for those families. So those kids will like, you know what, I want to go to Oregon. Oregon is my choice. And to go up to Washington and get kids, there's some players in Washington. I was just up there in Seattle this weekend in a 7-on-7 tournament, and they have some dudes. They have a lot of dudes that are really good. But for Oregon to go up there and grab the best football players in the state of Washington, have them come down, not to USC, not to somewhere else, but to Oregon, it's gigantic.
And Aaron, I'm curious about this. What does it say about this coaching staff? They haven't coached a game yet for Oregon. They're coming in with their reputations and their resumes. But what does it say about them? And obviously they play a role in this decision, a huge one. For them to get a player like this, I imagine this speaks very highly of what young recruits feel like, the connection they have with the staff and program when they're getting recruited.
Absolutely. To go through what they went through and losing Mario the way they did, and how well he had done in terms of creating the wave of recruits that were coming to Oregon, to lose that momentum and then to pick things back up the way they did with Lanning and his staff. They finished 25th originally, which was quality given everything that happened, but, it wasn't over yet. And to go out and sell this kid on not just Oregon, but on a brand new coaching staff with a head coach who's never been a head coach. I mean, this kid's taking a leap of faith that Lanning is going to be a legitimate head coach and that this staff is going to support him and they're going to have success. And of course, money can mitigate some of the doubts you might have, but still, it speaks to how well this staff has gone about creating excitement and creating a culture that's setting the table for future success.
And last question for you, Anthony. The experience that Kayvon Thibodeau had at Oregon, as far as his celebrity, the way that the Ducks elevated him, some of what he was able to earn with NIL, I imagine goes a long way towards another highly touted recruit like Connerly looking at the experience that Thibodeau had, saying, hey, I want to have the same exact thing that he had, and obviously Oregon takes care of their star players.
Well, offensive linemen are different. I don't know if they're looking for that stardom. It's just, well, he may play D-line, but I think he's an offensive lineman. Here's the deal. I think it just comes down to trusting coaches, trusting the staff that comes into your house. And yeah, you're looking at social media and you want all the hype. And I get that. The kids are excited about that and what the uniforms and everything else. But at the end of the day, okay, when you're up here, when you're down here in Eugene, from Washington, from Seattle, and you're having some issues, you're having some problems, you feel comfortable that you can go to the office of a coach and say, hey, this is what's going on with me. Can you help me? And you have that connection, you have that trust. And that starts on those recruiting trips. That starts when the coaches go to your homes and they win that trust. It's big for Oregon. It really is, because this is a new coaching staff. And Aaron said that. This is a new staff. They put them together. Now go on the road and get some kids that can play here. And they're getting the best. And when you get the best, now, again, I know if Joey was here, 5-star, 4-star, who cares about all that? I get that. But when you go to like Alabama and Georgia and you get to all the incoming freshmen, and if they're going to play other teams, they would win because they have the best freshmen in the country. Oregon's doing the same. We don't have, 25 of the greatest freshmen from the United States, but we got about 10 of them. We got a few that can play the game, and that is the start of a great program.
Yeah, a wise man once said they're getting better. We'll hear from offensive line coach Adrian Clem here later. You'll see why possibly Connerly had a connection with him. He just seems like someone that really has his players gravitating towards him. So more from him later. All right, stick around when we come back. Coach Dillingham, some comments about what he feels the city of Eugene, the campus of the University of Oregon, provides that no other school in the West Coast possibly can. We'll dig deeper into his comments when we come back on Talkin' Ducks.
With 9 locations in the Pacific Northwest, Parr's Cabinet Design Center features everything from outdoor cabinets and countertops to sinks and hardware. Thousands of door styles and colors available to order, as well as kitchen and bath cabinets in stock. All available at the Parr Cabinet Design Center.
Sure glad we went to Les Schwab.
I'm glad the baby's still happy.
Well, I'm just glad that along with tires, Les Schwab also does brakes, alignment, and a bunch of other safety services. I mean, if we had gone to a cheap tire store instead, I'd be a doggone wreck.
My thoughts exactly.
Thanks, kiddo.
Give everyone peace of mind on the road. Swing by or book online. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952.
Being able to get LASIK gave me the opportunity to not worry about putting contacts in every day, and just kind of made my life a little easier. Pacific Clear Vision Institute was just incredible through my entire experience. The staff was very welcoming. Dr. Embody, he really just kind of laid it out and made me feel comfortable and gave me confidence to know that I was in good hands. I would definitely recommend Pacific Clear Vision Institute for any sort of laser eye surgery.
Welcome to your Capital Toyota.
From the moment you walk through the doors, we're here for you.
Buy, sell, trade.
We got you covered.
It's everything you need in one place.
Great service? Check.
Easy to work with?
Check.
We want you to be happy, and it shows in everything we do.
Because we respect your time.
It's all the quality and convenience in one package.
New or Toyota certified pre-owned.
Our people are your people.
Capital Toyota. It's your way on the Parkway.
Stories tell us that great leaders are anointed at birth, chosen, by the hand of fate. But those are just stories.
You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Parr Lumber. Welcome back. Let's get to the hot topic, brought to you by Comfort Flow Heating, the HVAC industry leader in Western Oregon since 1961. How about Offensive Coordinator Kenny Dillingham, his comments on Oregon? This place cares about football. I say this is the only place west of Texas that has a mindset of the South when it comes to football. This is a Southern school when it comes to football. When it comes to sports, it's a true college town. Yada, yada, yada. Basically, if you're out west, it's the only real college town that can win championships. Aaron Fentress, I know you love yourself some hyperbole. Break it down. Your thoughts on Dillingham's
go to Newman first. Because I got to process
you're
this.
First bad at this.
I have to try and find the right words to not completely go off. But go ahead.
Look, real quick. I like the confidence, okay? I like the confidence, and that's what you wanted a coach, to be confident about the program. I know he's new and all that, but hey, why not? You know, everyone refers to the South, right? You know, Alabama's, Georgia's. I just talked about them. They're the best right now in the country. So, you know, we're trying to be the best, and why not? You know, go off like that as a coach. Who cares? You got to back it up.
It's interesting.
You got to back it up.
It's interesting, Anthony, because I look at what are college towns. Well, let's start with this. And Aaron, I know you're going to search for your words here, so I'm going to give you some more time. Look at legitimate programs west of Texas that can win championships, Anthony. It feels like it's USC, it's Oregon. You had Boise State for a while. Throw Washington into the mix. They've been in the college football playoff in the last 10 years. Is there anybody else I'm forgetting in this conversation? Maybe Stanford, but they haven't been as consistent lately. But you look at schools west of Texas. Is there anybody I'm missing there of those schools?
Well, only two have, or west of Texas.
West of Texas.
Only two have won it in the last 30, 40 years, right? Washington and USC. Oregon's never won it. So when you say Oregon can win championships,
right
they've never
now,
won it.
as far as teams positioned to win a national title in the next 5-10 years based upon what we're seeing with recruiting and coaching staff capabilities. Of those programs, Anthony, which ones are true college towns? I wouldn't really put Seattle as a college town like the South. LA is not a college town like the South. So to me, that really only leaves Oregon and Boise State as true college towns in the West. And so I get when you look at these comments how some people might roll their eyes, and we'll give one of those gentlemen a chance to talk here in a second. But to me, when you look at a college town where college football, that program is the big ticket, and in Oregon, it really is the big ticket in the state, you're not going to find a program that really has that combination of a chance to win a championship and that demographic of a college town. But
good point.
I'm open to thoughts, Aaron.
I mean, if you wanted to say this is a college town.
See, I broke that down for you, by the way, Aaron. I broke it down just section by section for you to go ahead and now talk about each ingredient.
If you want to point to the college town part, then okay. I mean, you know,
that's what he said.
Boulder, Colorado.
That's what he said, though. He did say it's like a town in the South.
Boulder, Colorado is west of Texas. They have a split national title, but they're not even close to being in the mix anymore. UW, Southern California, not college towns. But I don't think the town matters when you're competing for a national championship.
True.
As far as even comparing Oregon to the South and saying that it's on par in terms of its football culture, that to me is just nonsense. And we can just look at one factor, the stadium size.
Completely agree.
Auburn can get 86,000. Georgia can get 93,000. LSU can get 102,000. Bama can get 101,000. Oregon's not selling out, 58,000 is it, I think? So to me, if you're going to put yourself in that stratosphere, they should have already expanded the stadium to 80, 90,000. But they don't, because they know they can never come close to filling it. So I'm not going to come close to even remotely saying Oregon has anything going on down south, other than you have marquee facilities, which everyone's been chasing for 20 years. You have a booster in Phil Knight, obviously, who wants to win a national championship ballot. So he's going to open up the pocketbooks to get you as many bells and whistles as you can. And then you have that NIL power which I think we all knew right away was going to be a huge factor for Oregon, especially with, the money that they've had flowing in there already. So I do think there's some advantages Oregon has to most of the programs in the West, but I'm still going to put my money on USC if I'm trying to figure out which team in the Pac-12 is going to win the national championship in the next 5 years. I'm putting my money on USC strictly because they're still the only program that's done it in the last 20 years.
Yeah, but they've done it. We're talking about now, not done it now.
Oregon's never done it. Oregon's never done it.
Always brought
Oregon's
up.
never done it.
Always brought up. But they haven't done anything in the last 6 years.
Oregon's never done it.
No.
So the program
that's built to do it.
USC is going to be built to do it. They came off a huge they came off a huge probationary period, which we all know hurt them. They got a coach. This is the most accomplished coach they've hired since John McKay went back, or John Robinson, went back from the NFL 40, 50 years ago, whatever it was. He's a guy who's won 11 games a year in 5 years. So he's easily the most accomplished coach they've ever hired in terms of being proven at that level. He's bringing with him a Heisman candidate quarterback. They're going to recruit well because USC always recruits well, but it's not just like you talked about, we talked about the stars and how Joey's like the stars are overrated. USC is a classic example where the stars can be overrated. So I think the new coach can come in there and sift through those 4 stars and pick the ballers, not just the guys who have 4 stars by their name. So yeah, USC to me is still the monster. And since they're a team that we've seen win it and win it in different decades, I'm not going to put Oregon ahead of them. That's ridiculous.
But the question is now, though. I mean,
built to
do it now. We're not talking about the past. We can't compare against USC with the past, but we're talking about now and the players that we're getting compared to who USC is getting and what USC's done in the last 5 years. And everybody they always want to put USC at the top because of the past, because what they've done. But we're not living in the past. We're living today.
Okay, that's fair. But when was the last time Oregon contended for a national title? 8 years ago. It's been 8 years already. So let's not act like it's today. It was 8 years ago. Mariota was 8 years ago, dude. That's almost a decade. And USC, the bottom line is USC still has, it's the same thing with Texas. If I'm a marquee coach and I think I can win a national championship, I'm picking Texas over Oregon. It doesn't matter what's happened in the last 10 years. Texas still has more going for it, and it's Texas, and it's won national titles.
You don't win because of past history. You win because of dudes.
And Texas can get dudes too.
They can't get dudes good enough. If they did, they'd be winning.
No, okay, but Anthony, you have to have the right coach in place. You can have the marquee program and the wrong coach. But the power of the program still exists if you get the right coach. And Oregon Oregon lacks a lot of things that those marquee programs Oregon is not a marquee program of all time because they were really good from 2009 to 2014. That doesn't cut it in the bigger, grander scheme of things.
Aaron,
right now. They got smoked by Utah twice last year. That awesome front line and all those defensive players got bludgeoned by Utah.
And what happened to USC?
And then 2 years ago,
the Ducks went
4-3.
Where was Texas?
So it's not, I don't disagree with you. It's about the coach. So if Lanning's the right coach, he can maybe pick up where Mario left off and maybe get it to that level. But I'm telling you that a marquee coach in USC, we all know can win a national championship because we've seen it happen. We've never seen it happen in Oregon. And as a matter of fact, the 2 times they came close, the guys who led them there weren't remotely close to being marquee coaches. Chip Kelly and Mark Helfrich.
Keep bringing up the past.
So that stuff doesn't really matter to me either. The bottom line is, as far as monster potential, USC still has it over Oregon. I don't think anyone in the country outside of the state of Oregon would disagree with that.
But to just one last time recap Dillingham's comments, and good points both ways. I think when you look at the combination of a small college town where you are the most exciting thing year in, year out, regardless, we all know USC, Aaron. I think it's fair to say when they're winning, they're the talk of the town of LA. But when they aren't winning, you obviously get overcrowded with everything that happens down there.
And their attendance
I think we all agree, nobody in the Pac-12 sleeps great at night knowing that USC has a marquee coach. All right. That was fantastic. When we come back, we'll talk about Dan Lanning throwing a curveball to start baseball season off here, start a game off. Plus, we'll hear more from Coach Waz on an incredible, dramatic walk-off home run. Don't go anywhere. These two certainly won't.
Eugene Airport is a proud part of what makes Western Oregon such a unique place to be. With nonstop routes that connect to hundreds of destinations, fly local, fly EUG.
In the heart of the South Willamette Valley, just 12 miles southwest of Eugene, distinctive handcrafted wines are waiting for you at Sylvan Ridge Winery. Sylvan Ridge Wines bring unassuming, casual elegance to your homes, tables, and celebrations, and are best paired with the mainstays of a social gathering: good food, fond friends, and lively conversation. Discover our wines by visiting our tasting room. For a list of events or to plan your visit, go to sylvanridge.com. Proud partners of the Oregon Ducks.
Parr Lumber is committed to providing the best customer service. We provide personal service. We're problem solvers. We're positive and courteous. We're competent and professional. We are committed to delivering exceptional service every time. We're appreciative and we care. We are Parr Lumber.
Since 1961, Comfort Flow Heating has provided service to more than 50,000 homes and businesses in the Willamette Valley. While the technology and techniques in our industry have changed, our founding principles have remained the same: to provide exceptional service in all areas of our business and for our customers to enjoy their products from us and be comfortable for years to come.
From all of us at Comfort Flow, thank you for choosing us.
Go Ducks! You're watching Talkin' Ducks, built by Parr Lumber. Welcome back. It's time for some excellence off the football field, presented by Ferguson Wellman. Ferguson Wellman taking a disciplined approach to investing. And how about Dan Lanning throwing out the first pitch at PK Park? And looks like it's right down the middle. But Aaron, your thoughts? You're a baseball guy. What did you think of Lanning on the mound here?
It was money. I mean, he didn't throw gas. I probably would have taken him deep. Just kidding. But no, it was a perfect pitch. And here's what, whenever people do this, I cringe because so many people mess it up because they clearly don't go practice, right? And I always watch their left foot. Too many people point their left foot towards the first baseline and the ball goes over there. But Lanning's foot placement was perfect. He looked like he played baseball before. So it was a nice pitch. Good job on his part.
Slightly better than Mariah Carey's first pitch. I'll tell you that
or
much
50
right
cents,
there.
Right?
The game was exciting also because Oregon wins 7-6 with a walk-off by Tyler Gannis. Let's hear from Coach Waz afterwards, always keeping it real 100% of the time.
He's a legend, to be honest with you, a living legend. He's a kid that, we told in his exit meeting that, he was, quite candidly, he was weak. He needed to get stronger. He had all these deficiencies. We broke that stuff all down. And, but what he has inside of his heart, and he's a really good baseball player, but what he has inside of his heart is a tremendous work ethic, comes from his family. The kid is just unbelievable. He's such a person you can root for. You kind of tear up when you talk about Tyler Gannis because the guy, nobody works as hard as him that I've ever coached in my life.
Anthony, awesome stuff from Coach Waz. Now, I got to ask you, though, have you ever had a coach call you weak before? I mean, he just laid it right out there for Tyler Gannis. Loves the kid, but one of those kind of backhanded compliments earlier on.
It was, and I feel for Tyler. I mean, kids, listen, kids change all the time. And when they're young and, it happened to me. Okay, it happened to me, but the coaches didn't tell me I was weak or, go get in the weight room. The coaches said I should play another sport. And that was the Oregon State coaching staff when I went to the football camp in the eighth grade. They said I needed to play another sport. I don't think I was good enough to play football for them. And so I never forgot that. That's why I never lost to the Beavers. I'm 4-0. And to understand that the hatred towards the Beavers, it started when I was in 8th grade when they told me I was weak. They told me I couldn't play. Oh, pick another sport. So
Ouch.
I did. I picked another school.
Ouch.
Yeah, there you go. Seems like it worked out pretty well for you. All right, let's get to spring football here. Time now to hop on Victory Road, brought to you by Capital Toyota in Salem, your way on the Parkway. Let's hear from head coach Dan Lanning after the Oregon Ducks' most recent scrimmage.
Biggest thing you're looking for is guys that go out here and execute at a high level. We wanted to keep it simple on offense and defense and just see our guys go. And certainly a lot of things to improve on coming away with. Got to do a better job with ball security, but we had a lot of explosive plays on offense. Got to see the ball in the end zone some, and obviously that means on defense we got to do a better job tackling and finishing. So excited, lots of room of improvement on both sides of the ball, but definitely a good day to get some great work in for our guys.
In other news, after the scrimmage, no update on cornerback Dante Manning. He left the scrimmage in a wheelchair, lower body injury, but no updates were given. We'll keep you posted on that, of course. And, you know, we hear, Aaron, that there were some big plays made by the quarterbacks and defense has got to cut back on giving up some of those touchdowns, but then there were takeaways. How important are these scrimmages in spring practice when you look at this evaluation period in the spring, especially with a new staff, before they really start to reorganize things and get ready for fall camp here in a couple of months?
So as someone who covered a lot of spring football and grew to hate spring football, I can tell you right now that as far as gleaning inside information or things that are of the utmost importance, it's next to worthless. For the development of the players, it's important. It's just reps, semi-live reps, to get people acclimated to what you're trying to do on offense and defense at a higher rate of speed than you would normally have in practice. You want to see how guys can perform in a semi-real situation. But they're still such in the early phases of everything they're trying to accomplish with this football team that the first scrimmage especially would be almost next to worthless in terms of trying to figure out what it means or what it's going to mean come September. Right? And so, of course, everyone wants to know what happened in scrimmage, what happened in scrimmage, what happened in scrimmage. But I don't know how many times there were scrimmages I either covered or heard about after the fact where you heard, oh, so-and-so did such and such. Oh, my God, he's amazing. And that guy never played. Or people who are highly touted weren't doing anything in the scrimmages, and then come September, they were ballers. So you don't want to get too worked up about it. Now, the quarterback situation is still very interesting, so you want to know who's at least showing something there. But again, still too early to really know much about what all of this is going to mean come September.
Yeah, Anthony, what do these scrimmages really mean when you look at what can you learn from your team if you're a coach? I mean, you've been a part of these, of course, as a player, and I'm sure as a coach at times you guys have had a chance to evaluate your players in the spring. What are you trying to learn during this time where it isn't truly a real game, but it's not quite a practice?
Well, for the Ducks, it's a little hard right now because it's a new coaching staff. And so they're trying to get a feel of these players, all the players. Normally, if you had a staff that's been there for a while, the older players, spring ball is a little different. You don't want to get hurt. You're trying to, you're trying to, make sure you're working on your fundamentals and your technique. Young players, you're trying to get a job. You're trying to get that second team rotation, maybe be a starter, or you have some spots where guys are trying to get that starting spot. But at the same time, you're really just working on your fundamentals and understanding what you need to do and understanding the defense or the offense going into the fall. Spring ball, as a veteran player, couldn't stand it. I just no, I don't want to.
Because you knew the defense, right?
Yeah,
you didn't need that nonsense.
And I knew that, hey, there was the NFL, right down the road, and I don't want to get hurt during spring, and I got these young fullbacks coming through the line of scrimmage, and I got to take them on, and they're trying to get a job, and I have my job. So but for a young guy, when I was a freshman and sophomore, I was trying to get a starting spot. So I was getting after it. I was trying to knock people out. So it's a little different. But spring ball for the fans, it's fun because it buys time until the fall.
I would say this when it comes to spring ball, and this is obviously a rare example, but for me as a player, it's one of the most important periods of time for me. And I think, Anthony, you hit it right on the head. For young players that need to consistently make plays as the stakes get bigger, to give the coaching staff the confidence, to give them more and more opportunity, I think that's how they kind of find their way in the door. When you really want to see those guys that develop into really contributing starters or guys that are the foundation of your team that weren't necessarily 4 stars and 5 stars, this is when spring is exciting. You start to see glimpses of, okay, and Aaron, you saw this firsthand on the sidelines, I'm sure. A guy makes a couple plays in practice, that's nice. All right, but then he carries it over to those scrimmages where I get it, it's not a real game, but there is more responsibility on your shoulders. There's a bigger lens from the coaching staff in those scrimmages, to where then it translates to maybe they move up one more spot when they get to fall camp and the coaching staff now has more confidence in them. That's what I would say these scrimmages are good for. Other than that, yes, maybe boring for the media, and I agree with you, Anthony. Keep the vets out of them. Like, you do not need injuries. We saw this with our boy, Braylon Addison. Who knows what happens if he stayed healthy that year, but right or wrong, Aaron, your thoughts?
No, I agree with you 100%, but I have something a little more entertaining to point out that's going to make Anthony Newman a little mad. I was recruited as a preferred walk-on to Oregon, and I would have arrived in fall of '86.
Oh.
Something told me, no, take the scholarship money somewhere else, a lower program, but, pay for your college. And now I know that something was telling me that because Anthony Newman was running around trying to knock out young freshman wide receivers. So I'm so glad I made that choice because you would have been that dude. I'd have been like, it'd have been a dig, and I'd adjusted it to a corner and been like, I didn't know. I thought it was a corner, coach, because Anthony was right there in the middle of the field.
We'd have been fighting every day.
There'd have been no fight. There'd have been you mad at me running from you. Okay, that would have been gone right there.
I just know there would have been a lot of Jerry Curl.
A lot of Jerry Curl juice everywhere.
Stick around. When we come back, we'll hear from Oregon offensive line coach Adrian Clem, his thoughts on what this unit needs to show this year. We'll be right back.
Sure glad we went to Les Schwab.
I'm glad the baby's still happy.
Well, I'm just glad that along with tires, Les Schwab also does brakes, alignment, and a bunch of other safety services. I mean, if we had gone to a cheap tire store instead, I'd be a doggone wreck.
My thoughts exactly.
Thanks, kiddo.
Give everyone peace of mind on the road. Swing by or book online. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952.
Being able to get LASIK gave me the opportunity to not worry about putting contacts in every day, and just kind of made my life a little easier. Pacific Clear Vision Institute was just incredible through my entire experience. The staff was very welcoming. Dr. Embody, he really just kind of laid it out and made me feel comfortable and gave me confidence to know that I was in good hands. I would definitely recommend Pacific Clear Vision Institute for any sort of laser eye surgery.
You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Parr Lumber. Talkin Ducks is presented by Pacific Clear Vision Institute and Les Schwab Tire Centers. Welcome back. Time to put things into focus. Brought to you by Pacific Clear Vision Institute, the official eye doctors and eye surgeons of the Oregon Ducks. Let's go ahead and hear from offensive line coach Adrian Clem on what he's looking for in his coaching philosophy with this year's group.
My preference is to develop some form of continuity amongst the group. I think it's better that way if guys can play together, that they get a better feel for one another. And when the running back is in the backfield, if he's following the same guys on combinations throughout the week, he knows how to set that up, and all of a sudden it trickles to them as well. In pass protection, guys set different ways. You can coach it all you want, but guys, they do certain things. Some people are struggling with certain things. The guy may cut the edge on the right, on the other side they may be a little firmer. So the quarterback has a little better pocket presence because there is that continuity, because he gets a better feel for it. You're changing one guy, maybe things change up a little bit, but it's not significant enough that it changes everything. Whereas if you have guys, in my experience, if you have guys coming in and out, there's a lot of uncertainty for other positions, and then there's a lack of continuity within the group.
Well, Anthony, it looks like Coach Clem is looking for some consistency in the offensive line, which we know is sometimes hard to do at the collegiate level, going with the same 5 dudes the majority of the time. But it really feels like with a veteran group, 5 of the 6 starters returning from last year, It seems like this year's team can try to achieve that, and it feels like that's so important regardless of who's at quarterback, who's at running back. That offensive line can have consistency that usually leads to success on that side of the field.
You know, it's funny. I think the last 4 or 5 shows, we've talked about we talk about receivers, we talk about running backs, linebackers, defensive ends, corners, but we haven't talked about the offensive line. And to me, if I'm going to start a football program, okay, and I have 2 picks right from the start, my first pick is the offensive tackle, okay, left offensive tackle to protect the quarterback's backside. And the second pick is a good offensive line coach that can coach the offensive line. Because if you don't have an offensive line, okay, no matter how good your quarterback is, there's no time to throw the football or to help with the running game to run the ball. So Oregon is very lucky. They have 4 of those starters are seniors. They've all played together, and they always talk about, as an offensive line, you need to play as a group, as a family, one heartbeat, and understand each other, because it's so true. They're talking all the time as they come up to the line of scrimmage. So this offensive line is perfect for a young quarterback that's going to be behind the center, some young running backs, and young receivers.
Yeah. Aaron, your thoughts? Obviously, every coach wants to get consistency from their offensive line, but how did the Ducks best do that this year, especially when you've got a new coach coming in, new offensive coordinator, and you don't even know who the quarterback's going to be for sure yet?
Well, that's what spring football's for.
Yeah. I see what you did there.
No, I mean, they did have some inconsistency issues last year a little bit. Specifically, as I mentioned before, those Utah games were not very pretty. So there's some things to work on for this group. But for me, the bottom line is, if I had a choice coming in as a new coach to either have holes on the offensive line or have to maybe tweak and repair a defense that ranks 79th, and even though it lost Kayvon and McKinley, I'd rather have the offensive line intact, because if you have an offensive line intact and that they've had some success, then you should be able to run the football, because the holes will be there for whatever back you put back there. And we know they've got a good one in Cardwell. And then you got a quarterback in Nix, if Ty Thompson isn't ready, who's at least going to be as good as Brown. And Brown, for all his issues, he ran the ball well and he functioned well when what? When the running game was rolling. So you should know going into it that my offense is going to be at least good, maybe not great, maybe not championship great, maybe not playoff contender great, but it's going to be at least good because I got the line. And if I got the line and I'm running the ball well, I'm sustaining drives, who am I helping? I'm helping the defense that I'm trying to rebuild. So for me, that's the biggest thing Oregon has going for it right now, is that the offensive line is returning most of its starters, and they're all very experienced. And that, to me, is going to really be sort of the core of what this team becomes in the fall.
All right, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll talk more about Devon Allen getting signed by an NFL team. Can he really make a roster? We'll give you our thoughts when we come back.
Welcome to your Capital Toyota.
From the moment you walk through the doors, we're here for you.
Buy, sell, trade.
We got you covered.
It's everything you need in one place.
Great service? Check.
Easy to work with?
Check.
We want you to be happy, and it shows in everything we do.
Because we respect your time.
It's all the quality and convenience in one package.
New or Toyota certified pre-owned.
Our people are your people.
Capital Toyota. It's your way on the Parkway.
Eugene Airport is a proud part of what makes Western Oregon such a unique place to be. With nonstop routes that connect to hundreds of destinations, fly local, fly EUG.
In the heart of the South Willamette Valley, just 12 miles southwest of Eugene, distinctive handcrafted wines are waiting for you at Sylvan Ridge Winery. Sylvan Ridge Wines bring unassuming, casual elegance to your homes, tables, and celebrations, and are best paired with the mainstays of a social gathering: good food, fond friends, and lively conversation. Discover our wines by visiting our tasting room. For a list of events or to plan your visit, go to sylvanridge.com. Proud partners of the Oregon Ducks.
You're watching Talkin' Ducks, built by Parr Lumber. Welcome back. Let's have a toast, brought to you by Sylvan Ridge Winery, proud partners of the Oregon Ducks. And boy, Joey's going to be sad he missed this episode because we're talking about one of his favorite players, Devon Allen, signing a 3-year deal, Aaron, with the Eagles. We all know that that's the standard length of an initial contract in the NFL. You still have to make the team, and nothing's guaranteed in that league. But guys, your thoughts. Devon Allen, after everything he's been through, goes and runs a very fast time at the Oregon's Pro Day, and then gets picked up by the Eagles for a chance to join them in camp. Now, the plan, Aaron, is for Devon Allen to compete in the World Athletics Championship, the Outdoor Track and Field Championships in Eugene in late July, and then join the Eagles in camp. So, can he do it? Can he script this story and make the team, Aaron?
What was his 40 time?
4.35.
Oh, yeah, he can do it. Because at the end of the day, I've always told people this.
Take the top off the cover.
If you have average athleticism and you showed up to any type of tryout where NFL scouts are and you bust a 4.35, they will talk to you and probably try and bring you into something. Because you just cannot, you cannot find that kind of legit raw speed. And this is a guy who was super productive his freshman year. 41 catches, 685 yards, 7 touchdowns as a freshman on that team that went to the national championship game. We all know he hurt his knee against Florida State. Bad situation, never really came back for the next year. You know, he got hurt again. And then, of course, he went on to have a spectacular track career, which continues on. But yes, just the speed alone and his production as a freshman would make me as an NFL team go, oh yeah, bring that dude in. Look at the combine, or look at the pro day times for the Oregon players. We all saw Devon Allen make plays. We saw Johnny Johnson make plays. We saw Verdell make plays. They all ran the 4.6s.
Yeah.
This dude ran 4.35. That's nasty speed, and he's built well, smart, great kid. I'm mad my Bears didn't sign him. Like 4.35, sign that guy. Give him 2 years fully guaranteed. Just get him out there, because even if he doesn't make it as a receiver, and that's the big thing, can he become polished enough to make it as an NFL receiver? I don't know, but at the very least, he can be the guy who stretches the defense. He can run some drag routes for you. He can return kicks and be a gunner on kickoff.
Anthony.
Aaron, what was your 40 time?
My fastest 40 time was 4.62.
Excuse me.
Hey, I was on a state championship mile relay team. I took third in the state at intermediate hurdles. Boy, I could run. Now, you were chasing me, it'd have been a 4.28, but that's different.
Oh, so much hatred. Anthony, here's the news. I mean, the good news for Devon Allen, he's 27 years old, which is kind of ancient in NFL terms, but he's eligible for practice squad. So whoever picks him up can still put him on their practice squad and see how he does for a year and let him get used to stopping. That's what he says is the hardest thing right now, is stopping and changing directions, because, listen, speaking from a lot of experience here, when you're running track, you are not using those muscles to stop, and he hasn't done that in a while, so that would be his biggest challenge. Is that
you're stopping and changing direction is not a part of track. Right?
Yeah. No, not at all.
Not at all.
Here's the thing. Here's why I like Devon Allen. And I know he was, as a receiver, as a freshman, he was a baller. And you don't usually have track guys, except for like Jordan, okay, our man Jordan, that can play football
do the show next week,
that can control their speed, right? Change of direction. Change of direction is everything. Come out of a break and explode is everything. A lot of track guys can't do that. Devon was one of them. He was a guy that was a football guy and did track second, and then took up track, and now he's killing it in track, but he still has that speed. When you have that speed on the football field, I'm talking a 4.35. Are you kidding me? You have to watch this guy. You got to know where this guy is, because he can run go routes all day long and run right past your corner. So it's going to be tough for Devon to get on the field and run those routes and control his body and sink his hips and all those type of things. But speed, you can't teach speed. You can't teach it at all. And the Eagles, they have speed on their practice squad, or they're going to have it on their regular team.
All right, don't go anywhere. Matt Prehm will join us when we come back. We'll get the latest on spring football and his thoughts on the shockwaves of signing Connerly from Washington. You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Parr Lumber. Time now for What's Cooking, brought to you by Sam's Northwest Barbecue, the largest brick and mortar specialty barbecue store in the Northwest. And joining us now from 24/7 Sports and Duck Territory, it's Matt Prehm. And Matt, normally when I go to the state of Washington, I come back with some roasted Starbucks beans, but for the Oregon Ducks, lately they've been bringing back top recruits from the state of Washington, and obviously Josh Connerly, a huge signing for Oregon. We've seen big signings for the Ducks in years past, but just put into perspective the scale of what the Ducks are getting with this 5-star in Connerly.
Yeah, Josh Connerly is the number 2 offensive tackle in the country. He is a top 20 player in the country. He's the state of Washington's best player. And Oregon has not landed the state of Washington's best player since Jonathan Stewart in 2005. So that to go far, that tells you how far back you have to go to find the last time Oregon did that. And I would also want to say that Dan Lanning has done something that Mario Cristobal, Willie Taggart, Mark Helfrich, Chip Kelly, and Mike Bellotti could never do. And that's not a knock on those coaches. It's more of an impressive feat by Lanning, because all 5 of those coaches I mentioned have had some really big success on the recruiting trail. Lanning has secured 2 of the 3 best players in the state of Washington for the first time ever in program history for Oregon, with Dave Iuli and Josh Connerly. So for the first time ever, they've gone into Washington and they've landed their best players, and that's never happened before.
Finally, men's basketball. Matt, we've seen a couple of transfers. Obviously, Frank Kepnong throwing his name into the transfer portal, which is a blow to the Ducks. You lose that energy, but Davion Harmon did say he's staying. What do you take into consideration with Kepnong and his decision? Why did he choose a transfer when it felt like he was really breaking into the rotation over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think it's one in which you look at and say, well, it's probably a sign that N'Faly Dante is coming back to school, which when Dante signed with Oregon, the expectation was he wouldn't be at Oregon for 4 years. He would be at Oregon for 3 and then go off to play pro ball. Dante's torn ACL during the 2020-2021 season put that plan maybe a year back. I think Kepnong will certainly be missed. A guy that brings a ton of energy, like you said, was the team's leading shot blocker. It felt like the second half of the season, he kind of figured out how to block shots and not get called for fouls. But you also look at it as this is an opportunity for Khalil Ware to show up, and who has top 10 NBA potential in the 2023 NBA draft, be a one-and-done player. Kepnong is one in which I think you just sum it up as there was just too many guys. And while he maybe loved being in Eugene, loved playing at Oregon, he wants to play. And ultimately, whether it's basketball or football or whatever sport we're talking about, athletes want to compete most importantly. And if they're not going to be able to do that, it's really hard to keep them here. And so it's probably just a case of, we wish you could stay. We wish we could give you the minutes. And it was, I wish I could stay. I wish I could get the minutes, but it's just not working out. Let's go our separate ways.
All right, stick around. When we come back, we'll wrap up this edition of Talkin Ducks. Kelly Graves, Oregon women's basketball, losing yet another transfer, but this time they gain one from inside the Pac-12. We'll have the details when we come back.
With 9 locations in the Pacific Northwest, Parr's Cabinet Design Center features everything from outdoor cabinets and countertops to sinks and hardware. Thousands of door styles and colors available to order, as well as kitchen and bath cabinets in stock. All available at the Parr Cabinet Design Center.
Since 1961, Comfort Flow Heating has provided service to more than 50,000 homes and businesses in the Willamette Valley. While the technology and techniques in our industry have changed, our founding principles have remained the same: to provide exceptional service in all areas of our business and for our customers to enjoy their products from us and be comfortable for years to come.
From all of us at Comfort Flow, thank you for choosing us.
Go Ducks!
Sure glad we went to Les Schwab.
I'm glad the baby's still happy.
Well, I'm just glad that along with tires, Les Schwab also does brakes, alignment, and a bunch of other safety services. I mean, if we had gone to a cheap tire store instead, I'd be a doggone wreck.
My thoughts exactly.
Thanks, kiddo.
Give everyone peace of mind on the road. Swing by or book online. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952.
Sometimes leadership is scary. But so is regret.
You're watching Talkin' Ducks, built by Parr Lumber. Welcome back. Let's fly around the Pac-12 courtesy of Eugene Airport. Fly easy, fly EUG. Well, for Kelly Graves and the Oregon women's basketball program, another player transferring out. Shania Pinto this time throwing her name into the transfer portal. That now makes it over 1,000 players in the NCAA women's basketball transfer portal. So certainly times are changing. But the good news for Kelly Graves, they bring in a transfer from Arizona State, a veteran player in Taya Hansen. And you look at Hansen and what she does. Kelly Graves said Taya plays with a ton of toughness and energy and is going to bring a veteran presence to our team. She has been one of my favorite guards in the Pac-12 the last few years, and her leadership and ability to defend at a high level will be a major addition to our program. Hansen, who just got done with her 4th season at Arizona State, averaged just over 8 points, 3.7 rebounds, and 2.1 assists while starting all 26 games this past season, and she did not miss a single game in her 4 seasons at Arizona State, playing in all 114 games while making 62 starts. And in my opinion, this is exactly the type of player that Kelly Graves needs. Nothing against that previous star-studded recruiting class, but it just felt like there was a disconnect between what the expectations of the program were and what these players were expecting as well too. And for Kelly Graves and the way that this Oregon women's basketball team rose to the top of the conference, it was through tough work. It was through grinding through the process and that toughness and togetherness. And this feels like the type of player, Hansen, that knows exactly what she's walking into, and the Ducks know exactly what they're getting from this player. And while the transfer portal is new for Oregon women's basketball, and the sport especially, seems like Kelly Graves is starting to get more of the players that fit his mold. And you have to figure that decision to transfer for several of these players was one that was probably in their minds towards the end of the regular season. And you wonder if that led to some of the inconsistencies down the stretch. But hopefully for Kelly Graves and this Oregon team, it'll certainly be a rebuild. You got some core pieces coming back, of course, but Hansen joining the flock certainly gives them additional leadership and consistency. All right, that'll do it for this edition of Talkin' Ducks. Next week, we've got our spring game preview, baby. It's just around the corner. We'll give you our thoughts on everything outside of just the quarterback battle and let you know what to expect when we get a chance to see Dan Lanning and his squad kick it off on that Saturday. From all of us here, thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Talkin' Ducks.